In the late summer, my favorite thing from the farmer's market is the super ripe tomatoes. And they nowadays come in all different kinds of shapes, sizes, colors, flavors. My mouth waters when I smell them, and I immediately think about making a really delicious gazpacho. So that's a Spanish cold soup, but you can apply certain techniques from the Mexican kitchen to make a brilliant gazpacho that's going to be infused with the flavors that I really love. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Well, of course, we're going to start here with some fresh tomatoes and just kind of roughly chop those. And then, of course, we've got the cucumber that everybody associates with the gazpacho. So I've got those all kind of chopped up here. Garlic in the Spanish kitchen is oftentimes used raw, but I like to roast it because it's going to have a roasty flavor. This was done on stovetop. Took about 15 minutes on medium heat, just turning the garlic cloves still in their little papery skins. They're soft now, roasty, sweet, all kinds of good flavors that I associate with Mexican cooking. So we've got those here. We've got a pile of stuff going. Now here's where it's going to start to seem more Mexican in its flavor profile. I've got roasted tomatoes. These were done under a broiler, 5 or 6 minutes per side, and then allowed to cool down. They get blotchy black on the top and completely cooked through. Okay, that's what I'm looking for here. Alongside, I put a Poblano chili and let that roast at the same time. It's blackened and blistered on the outside. I can pull that skin because it's cooled off now. Took about half an hour or so for these guys to come back to room temperature. But I can peel off that skin, and then I'm going to tear it open and pull out the seed pod next and rinse it under running water. Just pull out that seed pod, give it a brief rinse. You don't want to go too much rinsing here because you rinse away a lot of that roasty flavor. And we're ready to combine it all in the blender. In goes the roasted poblano. These tomatoes, I'm just tossing them in there whole now, and you could take those skins off of there, but I like the flavor that it gives, so I'm going to leave those on. There's a little bit of juice that exuded out of those tomatoes because they were very ripe when they were roasting, so we'll put that in there. And then next goes the raw tomatoes, cucumbers, and roasted garlic. Now we're going to go to the seasonings and the thickener. Thickener, a lot of people in the United States don't think about, but in Spain, they always put a piece of bread in there. This is just white sandwich bread, and that's going to give a creaminess to the gazpacho, so it doesn't just taste like liquefied salsa. Next seasoning will be a tablespoon of vinegar, typically a red wine vinegar, will go into gazpacho in Spain. Couple of tablespoons of good olive oil, and a little bit of red wine, which I really love the flavor of in here, about 1/4 cup. Now, salt will be the final thing to go in here. And I'm going to put the top of it on and then blend it. If you're using a smaller blender, obviously you'll have to do this in several batches. Pop the top of it off, and wow, the smell is really mouth-watering. I'm going to look at the consistency of it. I like it to be smooth, and I like it to not be too intense, so I don't want it to be too thick. I'm going to add just a touch of water to it. Stir that around with a ladle. That's the consistency that I like. You may like it thicker or thinner. I'm going to give it a taste to see where we are flavor-wise there. Sweetness of tomato is beautiful. the slight smokiness of the roasting, that little bit of heat that you get from the roasted poblano is there, the freshness, of course, of that cucumber. Wow. A perfect summer soup. Now to the garnishes. So you serve your gazpacho. It's just delicious as it is, but typical Spanish style would call for a lot of the same ingredients that went into it to be served chopped and on top. So here I have tomatoes, cucumbers, more roasted poblano, a little bit of white onion. That can be a garnish. But now, because I've made this taste so beautifully Mexican with the use of those different techniques, I'm going to chop up a little bit of cilantro and add that to our garnishing ingredients. So just a nice simple chop across, like that. Add that in. And then the last of the ingredients that is so typically Spanish to put on top of the gazpacho is a little bit of hard-boiled egg. A spoonful of your beautiful raw ingredients and a spoonful of chopped hard-boiled egg. And if you like a little crouton, you could put several of those in there. I think they're delicious and they add a nice crunchy element to it. And there you've got it, a meal in itself.